Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down one of the most used, but maybe least understood, technologies out there, the cloud. You might not even realize it, but the cloud is woven into pretty much everything you do online. It's this invisible backbone that works so well, we just kind of take it for granted.
I mean, think about it for a second. Every time you stream a movie, or save a photo online, or fire up an app like Microsoft 365, heck, even when you're just collaborating on a Google Doc with a coworker, yep, you're using the cloud. It is the engine that powers our digital lives.
Right, so we all use the term, but what are we actually talking about when we say something is in the cloud? Where even is this place, and how does it all work?
Okay, let's dive right in. To really get a handle on what the cloud is, we're going to start with a super simple analogy and then work our way up to the more, let's say, official definition. Let's just strip away all the technical jargon for a minute. When you boil it all down, the cloud isn't some fluffy, abstract thing floating in the sky. It's just a bunch of really powerful computers, we call them servers, that belong to some other company sitting in a massive building called a data center somewhere. That's it. Someone else's computer. Okay, so that's the simple take. Now for the official definition from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST. I know it sounds like a mouthful, but don't worry, there are really only two phrases here that matter. On-demand access, which just means you get computer power the second you ask for it, and shared pool, which gets right back to that idea of tapping into a giant collection of resources that you share with lots of other people. So, what really makes the cloud so special? Well, according to that NIST definition, it all comes down to 5 essential characteristics. Honestly, the best way to think about these is as the cloud's 5 superpowers. First up, on-demand self-service. This means you can get more storage or more processing power all by yourself, automatically, without having to call a salesperson or wait for a technician. It's this incredible agility that turns a job that used to take weeks into something you can do with just a few clicks. Superpower number 2 is broad network access. As long as you've got an internet connection, you can get to your cloud stuff from pretty much any device. Your laptop, your tablet, your phone. It's what we call ubiquitous, meaning it's just everywhere. The third superpower is resource pooling. This is a big one. Instead of owning your own machine, you're dipping into this gigantic shared infrastructure. Picture those data centers with thousands of servers. All that computing power is pulled together. This is called multi-tenancy, where tons of different customers are all served from the same hardware. You get access to massive resources, and you don't even have to know or care where your data physically is. And that brings us to power number 4, rapid elasticity. This is a real game changer. Imagine your website or app suddenly goes viral. The cloud can automatically scale up your resources instantly to handle all that new traffic. And then, just as quickly, scale it all back down when things get quiet. It's like having a system that can grow and shrink on a dime to perfectly match what you need. And the final superpower is measured service. The cloud systems are always monitoring your usage, so you only pay for what you actually use. It basically turns computing into a utility, just like your electricity or water bill. So we know what the cloud is, but how do you actually use it? Well, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. It comes in different flavors, different service models. You can think of it like a restaurant menu, offering different levels of service depending on exactly what you need. And there are 3 main items on this menu. At the very bottom, the foundation, you've got infrastructure as a service, or IaaS. In the middle, there's platform as a service, or PaaS. And then at the top, you have software as a service, SaaS. And that's the one most of us are using every single day. So what's the real difference here? It all comes down to a simple trade-off: control versus convenience. With IaaS, from a company like Amazon Web Services, you're basically just renting the raw building blocks, the servers, the storage. You're in control of almost everything. But with SaaS, like Google Docs, the provider manages the whole shebang. You just open it and use it. Maximum convenience. PaaS, that one in the middle, is mostly for developers who need a workshop to build their own stuff. Okay, beyond the service model, there's also the question of where the cloud actually lives. This is the deployment model, and it's a huge decision that really depends on what you need when it comes to security, control, and of course, cost. Most of us, we live on the public cloud. Think of those massive services from Amazon, Microsoft, or Google. They're shared by everybody, and they offer incredible scale and value. On the complete opposite end, you have private cloud, built just for one single company, giving them total control and security. A hybrid cloud tries to get the best of both worlds by mixing the two.
And then there's a community cloud, which is kind of a semi-private setup shared by a few organizations with the same goals, like a group of hospitals or universities. So, how does this all actually work? How is it possible for one giant physical computer to pretend to be hundreds of separate, smaller ones? Well, the answer, the secret sauce that makes the entire cloud possible, is a technology called virtualization. Now, don't let the word scare you. Virtualization is basically the magic trick that lets one really powerful physical computer slice itself up into many independent virtual machines, with each one running its own software, totally unaware of the others.
And the magician performing this trick is a special bit of software called a hypervisor. Think of it like a traffic cop for all the server's resources. In those huge data centers, they use a super efficient version that runs right on the bare metal hardware, letting them carve one machine into hundreds of virtual ones. This software is the real engine that powers the entire cloud.
So let's pull it all together. The cloud has some incredible benefits, right? It's cheaper, it's way more scalable, and you can get to it from anywhere, but it's not perfect. You're totally dependent on your internet connection, you have to give up some control, and most importantly, you're trusting someone else with your data. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial question of all. The cloud is built on trust. So as we move more and more of our lives onto these remote computers, we have to ask ourselves, is all that incredible convenience and power really worth that fundamental trade-off?